crazy. When I first opened the podcast, I wouldn't see that much. I wouldn't see that many like other podcasts. I wouldn't get. They wouldn't come up as much as like recommended pages. And then after a certain point, like bang, 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 I'm connected with like 4. Yeah. I'm connected with that. Just bare other podcasts of black people in London. That's all I'm connected with now. But no, it's pretty dope to see. It's like a reminder that there are actually so many people.
There's a lot of people.
A lot of people with different ideas.
Even like in terms of the kind of overall creative space as well. Because again, at the live show, we had like some artists perform and whatnot. And we did one thing with Pirates where like it was like an open casting thing. So if you wanted to perform at the show, you just submit an entry. And the amount of entries just goes to show there's a lot of people that are just trying to get some exposure and stuff like that. It was crazy.
How was the live show?
It was good. Yeah. I mean, it was on a Tuesday as well, so gave everyone down to Box Park Croydon on a Tuesday working night. It was.
I'm from Croydon. I always come.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's why I was there.
Every time there's a guest here, I always come to the furthest. Always.
I used to when I first started before I got to London Podcast Studios. I was recording in Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I was Wimbledon. I was recording in a place called. I forgot what it's called. I forgot the place it's called now, but it was, and they were fairly big studio, and the studio was nice. It was just in Wimbledon.
That's mad.
And like,
are you originally from South?
I'm from South. I'm like closer to the river, so I'm closer to. I'm originally from like Greenwich Borough, Greenwich, O2, Charlton, them area. Yeah. So I wouldn't even say I'm from South because Croydon is like an hour and 15 minutes to get to from me. Yeah. It's much easier for me to get to East London than it is to get to Croydon. You guys are out in the sticks. But
it's facts.
It's true. But so I wouldn't like. I'm from southeast, like south of the river. But at the same time, I'm like, it gets me. It's way quicker for me to get to East London than it is for me to get to south.
It's so funny because I'm starting to hear this recently about like South Londoners. So obviously, there's parts like people will consider us like you're saying like Greenwich, like O2, them kind of sides as like East London, even though it's
south. It's south, but it's not like
south of the river.
Yeah.
But like. In terms of like,
there's a difference between Greenwich and Croydon.
Yeah.
And Bromley.
Yeah.
And Sydenham.
Dartford and all them kind of places there.
Even Dartford's a bit closer to Kent, so it's like Dartford is south.
Does Dartford count as South London, or is it Kent?
It's like on the verge. It's but I think it's you know what? I think their postcode is DA.
Yeah.
I don't think their postcode is SE. It's DA.
Yeah, it's DA. It's definitely DA.
But you can. I wouldn't be mad if someone was like southeast and they said they lived in Dartford. But it is on the verge of like Kent.
Dartford is crazy, man. I went there once and I said never again.
That's what I'm saying. Like but it's a little bit easier for me to get to Dartford than it is to get to Croydon.
Yeah.
I have southeastern trains that go straight to them sides, straight to Dartford.
To Croydon, there's trains from Croydon.
Yeah, but that's
London Bridge, boom.
Yeah, but I have to go into London Bridge.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. From where I literally lived, grew up in Woolwich. There's trains directly from Woolwich straight to Dartford sides. So yeah, Croydon for me is just a bit. Yeah, I've had my moments going to Beckenham, and that's not even fully Croydon. I'm going to Beckenham and that, and being like, and when I was younger, that hour journey on a bus on like a 54. I'm like, bro, this is long, bro.
Swear down.
This is long. Yeah. And now I live in East London, and I work with most people who are all born and raised in East London. It's so funny to them because when I say Greenwich, they're like, oh, so that's Croydon. No, that's not Croydon. Like, they are very two different areas.
It does sound far though when you think about it. It's not though. It's actually not.
It's not. But to them, anything on the south of the river is all one big, just other country. Yeah. So it's funny when I speak to people now that I'm surrounded by, who are all from like Wanstead and all these places.
Okay, cool.
Boy.
Well, you're ready to go in it?
Yeah, man.
Well, we've been recording.
Well, I mean,
I swear.
It's unscripted, so I don't know. Maybe we'll put that even before the introduction. You guys already know we don't follow the ruals.
There we
of
go,
course,
man.
we follow rules, but
there's still no rules, man.
Yeah. So today, thank you guys for watching, tuning in, listening, blah blah. We're here with a special guest once again.
Yep.
Mr. Cassie.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it for coming. The content is dope. You know, as we were speaking, part of like that London podcast studio community. Yeah, man. Lovely to have you on today. Amazing.
I appreciate the invite, man. This is the second podcast I've been invited on. So I always appreciate it. Just above all else, it's just the the connecting and then the socializing people, especially people who do something similar that you're doing. So yeah, I'm always appreciating. I'm always here for it.
Networking is key.
Yeah.
So,
And humans love to talk, man.
There
I love
we
to
go.
talk. I love to
There
talk
we
as
go.
much as any other human. So
Yep.
that's why I started the podcast.
We say it all the time here. Like these conversations that we have, they're like therapeutical. Like it's therapy. Like after a week of so much happening, it's always good to just come and just chat, and just interact, and just get things off your chest. You know.
So when did you start like podcasting?
Well, I started podcasting in late 2020. I started podcast late 2020, so it was about my first episode came out in like June, July, around this time, so 2 years ago, around this time.
Cool.
But the plan was like summer 2019 for the podcast.
That's how it is, man.
Yeah. It was like summer 2019 where I was like, you know what, I'm starting it. I'm starting the podcast. And it was like beginning of 2019 was like I was flirting with the idea.
Yeah.
I just like from like 2017, 2018, I just started watching bare podcasts on YouTube. The first one, actually not the first one, but one of the ones that I was watching that was I could resonate with was obviously the Half Cast podcast. I don't know what it's called now, but that one, that was like the first one that you resonate with because that's like the first London urban black kind of.
I think that was the first one I came across. Everyone.
Yeah. It wasn't I think the first one I came across was I watched Joe Rogan, which is like the biggest podcast. I used to watch certain guests that I was interested in there.
Yeah.
I watched Joe Biden podcast every now and then. Certain episodes that were interesting to me. But those are all like a bit like I'm watching another, another realm, another world. But obviously when I ran into Half Cast podcast, and only when they started coming on YouTube, because I don't listen to I don't listen to podcasts. I can't. Like it's just not. I'd rather listen to music when I'm on my way. And this is an episode I really want to see. I'd rather listen to music or something. I don't really sit there listen to the podcast, but I know a lot of people do that. So it's only when I know Half Cast podcast was going from SoundCloud, and I'm calling it Half Cast podcast, but I think they got a different name. I don't know. But they be going for time on HC podcast. Yeah.
You know what it is.
They know what it is. They were going for time on SoundCloud, I believe. But it's only when they went onto YouTube that I started to notice them. Like they just came up with my algorithm. And I was really curious about the conversations. And again, it's because I've resonated with it more being a black guy from London. And it just took a while of getting onto like 3-4 different podcasts through like 2017, 2018, to where I got to a place where I was like, I would feel a certain way about certain topics, and I'd want to like say my piece, but I realized that I'm just watching it on the TV, like no one like can hear me. Like that's something you gotta remember. Like you say what you want, I like you like, shit. Like, no one can actually hear you. That's when I started thinking about, if I had my own like podcast, I'd be able to like talk about things I want, have people on I want, etc., etc. And then I was flirting with the idea. That was like 2018, but it was like summer 2019. I said I'm gonna start one, put plans in motion. So I started looking for studios. I started looking for someone to do the logo. I started thinking about how I actually wanted to run. And I was actually supposed to do it with one of my my best friends from school. And we were talking about it because we'd have so many conversations that we'd be like, if we recorded this would be hilarious. So my actual plan was to start January 2020. That was my actual plan. But I knew I wanted a studio. I knew I wanted to record
so
it.
You thought about in 2019.
The actual
2020.
So I set myself a goal. Basically, in the summer was like in January 2020, my first episode was going to be released. That was my goal. January 2020, my first episode has to be released. So the only part I hadn't done was I hadn't got someone to help me with recording because I didn't want to have to deal with that stuff and worry about that stuff. I just wanted to worry about everything else. The content. And all the other studio stuff, I sorted that out. But I wanted someone who was familiar with cameras and angles to come in and record it and, to do it properly because I wanted to do it properly. I wanted to do it, actually, professionally. So that was the one that took the longest. So January came, I didn't have someone to do that, so I postponed it a little bit. And I said like, I'll do it in a couple months. And then I was coming to the point where I was like, it was taking too long and I kept making like excuses for it. Like, I need to find someone. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do audio, just record audio. And if I find someone, then I'll transfer it to put on that YouTube and whatnot. And then March happened and May happened in 2020. And I was like, all right, cool. Same old. And then, which I sort of would rather how it happened, because I would have, if I released that episode in January and say it was audio, it would not have been the start that I had started,
Yeah.
to which I like the start that I had. And over the time, I connected with someone who I actually knew from school, but we weren't really friends like that. I connected with him, and he does his own freelance stuff, photography,
Okay.
videography, a bunch of that stuff like that. His name's Simba. If you've seen on podcasts, you'd be very familiar.
Simba, I know the guy's familiar. Does he have like a studio space in?
No, unless you're from
okay.
my side, you probably wouldn't know him.
Fair enough.
He's not like out there like that.
I was saying.
But yeah, no, so anyone who watches the podcast who's seen the episodes, he's on some of the episodes, he's talking with me, so everyone's very familiar with Simba. And he was the one that started to record it, and that happened in like June, July. That's when we released our
Okay.
first episode. So yeah, we're like 25, 26 episodes in, something like that
Yeah.
now.
That's your stuff, man.
But yeah, like you can find them everywhere. They're all on all the videos on YouTube. And it's sick because you see the progression from the first one that I had on YouTube, first ever release, and how that was, and the quality of it. And we was all. When I look back at it now, I can very much try that. We were literally trialing and erroring.
But that's life, innit?
And that's it. That is life.
You got
Yeah.
somewhere.
That is life. But we was trial and error. And when it got to about January, so it took a good, because we didn't record every month, because we were still like wondering how we can do this. But when it got to like January, so we went from July to December recording like maybe 4 or 5 episodes, and then from in 2021 January to December recording like 19 episodes. So we had the plan from 2021, and we went
Boy.
and it was sick.
We first recorded in
What was it?
the
Roundhouse. Roundhouse, yeah.
Studios, whatever. Remember the time where guys were smoking weed?
We were running inside
in
the
that
little
crew.
rooms and all the like. It was
in Eck.
that place was funny. Roundhouse is funny, man.
You know Roundhouse in Camden?
No,
Oh, okay. But do you know Roundhouse?
it rings a bell.
So they've got like kind of creative spaces like studios and stuff like that for the arts, and then they've actually it's very cheap for like basically it's aimed at the youth kind of thing, and it's funded basically by artists coming to perform shows at the venue at Roundhouse as well. So they've got the performance space and then the studio space, but cool little place. Don't know why I'm plugging Roundhouse, but
It rings a bell.
I don't even know if they ever still open up again after COVID.
So we found Pirate because that studio base was taking too long. Like even the first guest that we were supposed to have on our show, when we were there, that person was over 25, and because it's a youth, we're still young anyway. We're 26.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let that person come in.
That's wild.
Do you remember? That was such an experience. You know?
Even though they're just a guest.
This was just a guest.
Just a
and
guest.
Yeah,
Did
and
they stop them at the door?
just said they can't. She can't enter in.
They just stop them at the door, so
Yeah.
you're clearly over 25. You can't.
Yeah.
No. She filled in some. You had to fill in like your details. And and then
Yeah, that's wild.
I was like, boy. Interesting times.
we felt
We
bad.
thank God for progression,
Yeah.
anyway, because can't having stuff like that limit you. So, what would you say that COVID kind of maybe not helped, but was there? Obviously, there was that period where we didn't have to go to work. There was lockdowns. Everyone was stuck inside. Was that like a kind of turning point, like for you to like start thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get this done?
Well, what for the podcast?
Yeah.
Well, I always, once I had set that goal to release it in January 2020, I was always going to do it. So whether COVID happened or not, it was going to come out at some point in 2020. So I never really saw the COVID thing didn't really like motivate me more like, yeah, I've definitely got to get this done. I knew some way or another that this was going to get done. I had COVID from the moment I said I was going to do it, over the months, getting things in order, getting things planned, actually realizing this is something that's coming into fruition. I was like, all right, no, this is happening. So I don't think COVID was like fluctuate that feeling whatsoever at all, up or down. But COVID was still an interesting time, man.
Very
interesting.
interesting.
First 2 weeks, I was smashing COVID out of the park. Lockdown,
Serious?
I was like, what is this? But this is life,
Wow.
bro. I had been on my last year of uni,
Yeah.
on my course. So I had to finish my third year. And I was like waking up early, like
Wow.
eating breakfast,
So you were actually productive.
doing my
your stuff.
my whatever lecture I had to do online, then doing a bit of work, put in a workout, get a workout in, you know, home workout, have some lunch, have a little nap if I had time, have a little nap if I had time. I was living life. That was the first 2 weeks,
And then
like lockdown happened. Yeah.
This is
Lockdown
now proper
happened.
lockdown. This is lockdown.
Waking up whenever I wanted, like waking up, grabbing my iPad from the side, logging on in bed, or the uni thing. Just but the first 2 weeks, I was like, yo, this is lockdown. Like, I could do this all day. Like, this stuff's easy.
Hey.
And then, it hit me like everyone else.
Yeah, no, lockdown was definitely an interesting time. I mean, I learned a couple new things, started picking up quite a few hobbies and whatnot. But I won't say I've continued them now. But you know, interesting times anyway. Interesting times.
Yeah, it was alright. It was fun. Okay, cool. Let's talk about football, because obviously we're in your top there, and I see you support Arsenal.
Oh, is it?
Another Arsenal fan.
Wow.
That's the
interesting. I didn't
guess
read you.
we
I
had
thought
on
you were a
Arsenal,
United
so-
fan. I thought
he's
you gave
also
me
a fan,
United
man.
energy, but
Oh my lord!
you gave me
Don't
United
ever
energy.
say
I'm
that
a
again.
United fan.
I thought you was. I thought you was.
That's
I thought you was.
That's a good thing.
I thought you was.
It's a great thing.
I thank
now,
God.
terrible.
Listen, thank God you're on this side of the table. United energy. That's what? Allow it, please. Like, that's disrespectful.
Oh gosh.
United
But
energy.
do you know what's so funny? Yeah, like wait, I was asking.
You need to bring United fans on. That's what you need to
I do. Yeah. Everyone's just an Arsenal fan, and I don't understand why. But anyway, yeah, I was talking to one of my boys, yeah, earlier this week, and I was asking him like, what made you choose Arsenal? Yeah, like what made you choose Arsenal like, when you were growing up? Yeah, and I've asked a couple people over the years like, what made you? And I come to the conclusion it's actually Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry gassed everybody.
Thierry Henry.
He gassed
Thierry Henry plays like 20% of why every black boy loves football.
That's it.
Even if you support Arsenal, he plays like 20% of what every black boy loves
Arsene Wenger
football.
as well. Arsene
My
Wenger.
boy told me
I
that
agree.
my boy told me that Thierry Henry was like he's a father figure to him.
Bro, I have a cousin. I
wouldn't be shocked. Not me, but
So I was like-
I wouldn't be
I have
shocked.
a cousin who like had Thierry Henry, like almost man-sized poster on his wall.
Serious?
Like that's like a dad to him.
It's a serious thing, you know.
Yo, Thierry Henry is like and when you're young, like, and you're watching this guy on TV, you're not thinking this guy is a European player. You think this is a black brother.
But it's true.
This
He
is a black
actually said
brother.
he's black.
When you see him, like, you're not thinking this is a French don. Like, you think this is a black brother from around the way.
Exactly.
Until you get a little bit older, you hear him talk, you're like, oh, he's actually from France.
But
But he's still got his own little. He still grew up from the hood, like in France.
yeah.
Like there's hoods everywhere in every country. But that's the guy. So I don't have a specific reason why I support Arsenal. I just like I have uncles who support Arsenal, so it's like that family thing. And then just like being young, remembering that like red. That's like something that's always stuck in my head. Remember that red of the kit. But like that was pretty much it. Pretty much like coming from uncles supporting, watching football, and then them supporting Arsenal and being like, oh, I'm gonna do Arsenal. And then over the years, it's like loving it and going into it. But I feel that's what it stems from most people. Someone who influences you, supports them, and then you say when you're a kid, oh, I'm supporting them then because they do, and then you either grow to actually love that team or maybe you actually realize you love another team.
Are you feeling optimistic about this season?
I wasn't. Oh, so here's the difference between me and every other Arsenal fan.
Yeah, I haven't said anything purposely because I want to hear what you say.
So here's the difference between me and every Arsenal fan. Like I've stuck with the times a long time ago.
Of course. Yeah.
Even when Arsene Wenger was last year or two, I got with the times. I wasn't sticking on like past. With United too, Arsenal, United, like the way when we get angry over certain things, it's like, bro, what are you getting angry for? You are now like a mid-table team.
Listen, that's what I've
I come to accept that a long time ago. When Wenger was there, yeah, when Wenger.
There's a difference
Yo,
between
getting-
accepting,
getting-
realizing and accepting.
Obviously, you look and you know what position in terms of like past glory. You're looking at like what we used to be, but you also have to look at the times and realize that you are not as good as Man City, Liverpool,
of
Chelsea.
course, of
you have
Yeah,
to be
so
realistic.
that's what I'm saying. Since I'm saying when we finished, like since Wenger's last year and everyone after that, when we've been finishing
It's crazy.
5th, 6th, 7th, 8th,
Outside Champions League spots.
I'm not looking at it like, oh, how are we doing this? We should
Yeah.
be. Nah, this is just where we are now. We're going to be battling with West Ham and Everton, and that's just what it's going to
And
be.
you're happy.
I'm not
Not
saying I'm
happy,
happy, but I've understood and I've understood and I've accepted that. No, I'm not saying I'm happy. I've understood and accepted that. Like obviously when we play sick against like a top team and we beat them, like towards the end last season, it was Chelsea we beat. Who was did we beat? There was someone just before Chelsea or just after. It was a top team. I forgot. Was he? Come on.
I was about to. He said, "Come on."
Wait, are you saying come on because you're trying to say you were not a top team?
No, but there was like
West Ham.
there was like two top teams we beat, and I remember in between we had like a Brighton or something, and like, so it's those moments I'm like, come on, like,
Crystal Palace.
yeah, it was Palace, it was Palace, it was Palace, it was Palace.
Let's go there.
It was Palace, but like those moments I'm like, bro, but like at the same time you gotta be like, it's just what it is. So when people get super angry, it's just like you're hopping on time. So us even battling, we should have got it, but us even battling for top 4 last season, like I didn't see that happening.
That's what I was saying.
No one saw that happening.
Yes,
It was
I
a
agree
good
that.
thing.
Yes, it was
Like-
good.
That's what I'm saying, but let's count our blessings that we were even trying to get into top 4.
exactly.
So when
I
you
agree,
ask
I
me,
agree that.
so when you ask me what our thing is this season, I'm still like, well, we're obviously going to be like top 8.
Are you optimistic?
That what we will finish top 4.
Just okay. Yeah, top 4. Let's say top 4.
There's optimism and
He said that there's a side.
optimism and realism. You know?
No, you can have the balance of both. Okay, I don't want to say anything to influence your.
Nah, you won't. But I'm just like, I can't. It's tough for me to say, yeah, I think we're gonna do it, and then also say it's tough for me to say, actually, we're definitely not doing it. Because last season I wasn't sure. I didn't really think about it too much, but we ended up almost getting there.
At least I like how
fumbled the
like
bag.
your your view is very balanced.
That's why I said
Because-
you're giving me United energy.
I'll stop.
Your
Ah, here we
That's
go,
not-
man.
You're not deluding
You're
like
not-
some of the other
man.
Arsenal.
Well, you're not giving me a compliment, you know.
Go,
You feel that's a
man.
compliment because
It's
it's
a
not.
compliment, man. It's a
No, it's
compliment.
not.
It's a compliment.
Here we go, man.
You are not giving me a compliment. Like, understand that I'm very hurt by what you're saying.
Don't be.
I
Take it
am.
as a compliment.
No,
Take it as a
I'm taking it
compliment. Take
as
it
a
compliment
diss.
from.
No, that's
Oh yeah. But
I'm
take it as a
taking
compliment.
I'm taking it as a
from-
diss.
Don't take it like that.
That's how I'm
Don't
taking
take
it,
like
bro.
that, because in all honesty, United.
It's funny because you've come down to our level. You had a you have.
No, we
you
haven't been. We haven't been.
And now you're a bit lower than us now.
Not really. We're in the same. We're in the same part.
No, come
We're in the
on,
same part.
come on.
Where'd you
We're
finish?
We're on the same.
Where'd you
boat,
finish?
We
man.
finished 6th. We finished 5th.
How many points
We finished
behind us?
For me, yeah. For
We're
me,
the same, we're
For
the
me,
same,
we're
the
the
same.
same. It's not
After
about how many
after top
points.
4, after
It's the
top
same.
4,
It's the same.
You even lost on
It's
the last
actually
day of the
same.
season too.
That's fine. And where did we finish?
Okay,
There we go.
there's two.
There we
There's a
go.
top 2. So you say someone needs to be top 6.
Yeah.
But now there's top 2, which is City and Liverpool. Then there's the middle bit, which is Chelsea, Tottenham. It's pretty much. I wouldn't even say that we're there yet, even though we was. Yo,
They have to.
They've been finishing above
They have
us.
to.
Tottenham have not won a major.
They haven't. They
trophy
haven't.
ever.
I'm not saying.
It
I'm
doesn't
no.
matter.
I'm
It
just
doesn't
saying
matter. We're
they're
talking about
there
now, current
in
time.
terms
No,
of where
of course,
they.
I'm not oblivious. I'm not saying that they're nothing. You have to respect them, but at the same time, let's be real.
No, but I'm not saying they're there in terms of like status of or trophies they
Okay,
won. I'm
okay,
saying
well,
that they're there
yeah,
from
yeah,
where they've been
yeah.
finishing recently.
It's true.
Over the past 2-3 years, it's been City and
Have one
Liverpool.
episode just talking about football. Just
No,
you
we'll
know,
definitely
yeah,
do it. We'll
It's
definitely
been
do it.
it's been 2-3 years. City and Liverpool have been the only ones. Chelsea have been in between them and like Tottenham and whatnot. And then like just underneath Chelsea, Tottenham is like all the other like 5th place to like 7th place. So it was Arsenal, United. Who finished 7th and 8th? I don't remember.
7th and 8th. This West Ham finished 7th
Uh,
because they just and then I think 8th. Who was 8th again? I can't look.
But yeah, so
But yeah.
I see 5th to 8th like the same
It's
sort
the
of
same.
thing.
It means the same.
The same sort of thing. Even if like
Is it?
there's quite a few bit of points ahead, you're still the same thing.
But yeah, man. My views are similar to yours in the sense that I know where United are.
I don't like
where
the way
they were.
you're grouping
But
us together like
we're
this.
together, man.
Yeah.
We're together. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Don't mind.
I can
that.
see you. You got it.
Don't mind that.
I say good at you. I've never heard that before in my
You're gonna
life.
you're gonna sack him in
No.
January
We've learnt our lesson,
and get
man.
another one.
We've learned our lesson. We've learned our lesson. But I feel like the board have
He
learnt
will
their
not
lesson,
last more than 18 months.
He probably will do. I feel like they're now learning to trust the process, and
Well,
they're
they're
gonna
gonna
now
get
start to
poaching. They're gonna get
trust the
poaching, and
process
then
now.
the same thing to him.
They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna do that. What? This is what 6 managers in. Nah, they're not gonna do that again. If they do that, then that's childish, quite frankly. But yeah, moving on from football, because like if I start speaking about football,
Yeah.
I'll start shedding tears and start crying. It's a very emotional. It's a crazy
Yeah.
one. But yeah, you're gonna say.
No, let's get into the main juicy topic. main topic. So how it usually works is that when we have a guest, we usually don't tell them the topic
Mhm.
so that
I like
they have
it.
to prepare any answers.
I like it.
Straight
Hence
conversation.
Unscripted.
Unscripted. Yeah.
So the topic is around why people in our culture nowadays take things so personally. You know, they're so, if I can say let me say we, not there, but we are so fragile in
No,
terms
you
of
could say them.
criticism.
'Cause I don't
terms of-
I don't feel like character.
In terms of criticism, around criticism, there are other words I could use, but kind of, you know, around people taking things too personally, being offended too easily, so on and so forth.
Yes, that's an
Where do you
interesting.
think that stems from? We can start from there.
It's an interesting topic because there's so much. I feel like there's so much grey area to it. It's not all just black and white. A quote comes to mind that I heard about it. It's about saying, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like you can't choose the way people act towards you, but you can choose how you react, which is very true. You know, his comment about I look like a Man United fan, I can't decide whether he says that or not. I don't know if he's going to say that, but I can choose how I want to respond and react to that comment. If I want to laugh it off and, you know, act like everything's cool, which it's not. Or if I want to like get mad and be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, you really took that to heart.
Yeah, I heard, bro. United, bro. Call me a Spurs fan before you call me United.
Oh, hey!
I swear.
Cut my throat for them,
Wow.
man. Cut
I
my
swear.
throat, man.
Wow.
I swear. It's over. This was during 2020. Oh, Thames got me through 2020. Like, got me through it. The first 2 weeks when I smashed out the park, didn't need Thames. After that, when I was like in bed till like 11, 12 p.m., 1 p.m., I needed Thames. So I was listening to Wizkid's album, connected with it, loved it. What's it called again? The last one with S on it. I forgot the name.
Made in Lagos.
Yeah, Made in Lagos. Yeah, Made in Lagos.
Yeah.
Connected with it, mad, loved it. And on the Essence track was also one of the stand-up features, but the Essence was not big at this point, like worldly wasn't big. But the Thames voice was just like, I was like, bro, who is this? I didn't know her.
It's true.
And then randomly, she came up on my like one of the playlists that I'm an Apple Music guy, by the way, not Spotify.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
That one is.
Whoa. So you're trying to deal with this limited library of songs, like. I'm
I'm an Apple Music guy. So one of the playlists that popped up for me, like songs you may like, whatever, a Thames track came on. I forgot what track it was. Might have been High or something. One of the popular ones. But I was just like, what is this, bro? So I went straight to her thing, realized she's the one that featured on that Essence song. And the whole 2020 for like 3-4 months back to back, that first EP she had, not Orange is the New Black, that's a new one. The one before that,
can't remember
I
what
forgot
it's
the
called,
name.
but
it's something was the place. I don't remember. But that first one with Higher on it, with Danger, with Influence, in something like that. That Freeze on it.
Yeah.
That song there, that our whole EP there's like 8 songs, and I'm a fan of smaller, lesser songs. Like I'm not a fan of the 20-song
Albums. Yeah.
So when I was replaying that whole thing just all through lockdown, and then it's funny because I'm saying this to say, then I stopped sort of listening to Made in Lagos a bit. Had a couple months had gone, and then I was hearing Essence everywhere. And I was like, I swear this came out a while ago. People are getting on it now. And then because of that, Thames got everywhere. Now she's worldwide.
I'm happy for her.
So it's funny, but I'm a fan of Wizkid a bit more than Burna Boy.
Okay, cool. All right, then, fair enough. Back to the topic. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that quote comes to mind about why people we can get so easily offended. You can't choose how people act to you, and I'm paraphrasing heavily. You can't choose how people act towards you, but you can choose how you react. And I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in being aware of your actions and not even necessarily actions in this case, but your feelings of how you feel. Like no one has made me angry in like years now, because I've understood that. I've understood like your action towards me is one part, but how I choose to take that and how I decide to take that is another part. And once I realize that and I understand who I give my energy to and who I allow myself to be vulnerable with, because that's a huge part in this. The only people that can really hurt you or should be able to hurt you are the people that you're very vulnerable in front of, which is the people you're closest with. Your best friend, your mum, your sibling,
Family.
a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever. Those are people who you want to create a connection with, so you're very vulnerable in front of them, and with them they know all about you. So those are the only people that should be able to hurt you. And those are some of the parts that you necessarily can't control, because you're so close to them, you're so attached, you have strong feelings towards them, and you have that relationship with them because you believe they will never do something intentionally to hurt you. So when they do, you can understand how you can't really control how you feel towards that. But any other random people who are not in my circle, who I don't give a damn about, who said something in passing to me or whatever, all right, he finished, like, I'm gonna go this way now. You don't affect me at all whatsoever. You're not in a position to affect me in any way, shape or form. Like, you know nothing about me. So one, I believe people need to start being very selective in who they give their energy to.
That's a big one.
You can't give your energy to everyone. You can't be vulnerable in front of everyone. Like, the people who just start spewing their whole life to random strangers, like, baffles me. Like, I'm a personal trainer. I was in a gym once, and a member walked into our gym, and I was trying to sign her up for the gym and, like, do an assessment for her, basically, like an induction kind of thing. And she started telling me, like, I haven't been doing great recently. I'm having issues with my partner. We have a newborn baby. We just haven't been connecting recently. And she started going in detail about, like, like, you could have stopped at, I haven't been doing great recently, I'm trying to get in the gym to you know, get a bit more positive. Like, you could have stopped there. But she started going in depth, and this was real life stuff. But I'm like, yo, you've never met me before.
Yeah.
This is the first time you met me, and you're like, just
figuring out everything.
my family's have been doing great. My husband, blah blah blah. Marriage is doing great. Newborn baby, everything's. I had to step back and like, whoa, okay.
That's a bit much.
And people that, not necessarily to that extent, but people who like just reveal stuff about themselves.
What
like,
would you say, just to touch on that point, would you say that she may have felt comfortable telling you that since she doesn't, like, know you in terms of, like, you're not family or anything like that, so it's like a safe space, and that it's not gonna be judged, or, well, not even that she won't be judged, but, you know, like, when you go into, like, therapy and whatnot, some people feel more comfortable in opening up to somebody that they don't know, rather than family and friends, where they feel like their family and friends might, you know, look at them in a certain way.
There's less expectation.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the difference between that is, I'm not a therapist, and she knows I'm not. She's not talking to a therapist. When you talk to a therapist, you know their job is to actually be confidential and not judge you, and then not, like, go out telling people about your business. She has, she has no idea who I am in that moment. I'm just a PT working in the gym. For all she knows, I could, like, go and tell everyone about what I just heard, what she just told me. And so people who do that just are wild to me. So I think the first thing, foremost, to work on the journey of not being so offended and not taking things personally, is understand where to choose. Literally, you have free will to pick and choose where you put your energy. If you don't want to give someone your energy, that you're within your right to say, I don't really want to be around you, and give you attention. And then you can pick and choose people you really care about, you give them all your attention. So that's the first thing. And once you do that and you detach from people who are not toxic, like, people who are just come and go people. They're passing by. Acquaintances. I have 100 acquaintances. I have very small friends, but I have 100 acquaintances. I know that's a bad thing. It's just, if I see you, I'm going to say, cool, I'm going to dap you up. But there's nothing really more than that. So that's what people need to do first and foremost. I feel like people have way too many friends. Or too many people that they call friends. So that's the first thing. Differentiate and understand where to give your energy to. And then the second thing after that is actually understand that another famous quote is that lions don't compare themselves as opinions of sheep.
Well,
so
I can tell you read books.
Yeah.
Books,
so the people, but that I got that from somewhere. That wasn't his quote.
Of course,
sorry. So that's the first thing. It's like, not that, like, you're better than anyone else, but at the same time, sheep being people who are that acquaintance in your life, you don't really owe them anything, they don't owe you anything, you don't really have a relationship. Whatever they say, why would you let it get to them? Like, why would you let it get to you? Like, their opinion is nothing. Should be nothing to you, to your life. They're not someone who you hold on the pedestal. They're not a sibling. They're not a parent. They're not a partner. They're not a good close friend you've known since you was like 8 years old. Like, you shouldn't. Their opinion should not hold no weight. So a lot of it could be people are just not. Why people get offended? They're just not aware of their feelings. Number 2, which is a big one, especially for males, is ego. That's the biggest. That's the biggest killer, especially when you're in a public place. As soon as straight away, and we all know because we've all been guys and we've all grown up. Especially I grew up in a boys' school, so exactly. So
crazy school.
Like when something happens, the main thing, and when you think back, you see in people's eyes. Their main thing for a split second is, oh my gosh, this just happened. I don't really care for it. I don't want to do anything, but everyone is watching me and I've got to do something now. Yeah. And like you react, and that's your ego talking. Like if you don't do something, you're blah, 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 blah. So that's the main thing. Like for men, I'll say like, check your ego. Don't let your ego check you.
Oof.
It's actually funny. I had a recent experience. I'm not religious, but I say I'm a man of faith. And I was in the church. I think it was either last week or the week before, and then as you walk down the stairs, you walk past the toilets. There was a random guy that came in, went to the toilet. Yeah, I think he had a cigarette in his hand. He wasn't smoking, but he looked a bit off or whatnot. So I asked him, "Are you staying? Are you coming inside or whatnot?" And he was shouting at me. He said, "I don't know what he said. He didn't swear, but he told me to walk downstairs." And I'm thinking, I had a long day. Like, I'm not even thinking like
I'm hot. You're sweaty. It just
So it was more that than anger or what you. So all of those different things. But I remember there were people behind me as well. I literally took a breath, a sigh, and I just walked down, and eventually he walked out of that place or whatnot.
So you just controlled your emotions.
Yeah,
because above all,
not take it personally sometimes when you're in situations.
It's hard, but above all else, just weigh the pros and cons. All right, if in this situation this guy's clearly stuff is wrong with him for him to start shouting and getting at me, it's not that deep. But if I was to then choose to get in his face and get physical with him, what are you really gaining?
It's true. It's true.
What like would you really gain? Like the people? Did you know the people behind you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Were they people close to you?
They're not close, but they know me well.
Okay, so what could you gain? Like the people close to you would have been like, oh, respect. Yeah, you've effed him up. Like you're the guy. Like
I used to feel like that in school.
And if they, in school when you kids, but if they was to feel a type of way about you walking away, then are they really people that are close to you and care about you? So like, weigh the because what you're doing it for. And if there were people you didn't know, you're doing it for strangers to be like, oh, you're the man. So like, what are you really gaining by wasting that energy trying to get into something with that guy who clearly isn't like in his right mind?
Yeah.
But what are you also gaining from like walking away? Just relax, peace of mind. That unnecessary stress and negative energy put on someone else that you don't even know, don't even care about, won't even see again. Just weigh the pros and cons in that sense.
Yeah.
And the pros should heavily outweigh the cons.
That's true. Let's kind of broaden it out a little bit, and I'm thinking, because we hear this term like this generation is a snowflake generation, everyone gets easily offended and whatnot, and like even when you go on social media, like before you swipe down like even once, you've probably seen someone reacting to something and it's like, oh my god,
person indirects and stories.
Exactly, and all this kind of stuff. What would you say? Is there anything that you would possibly kind of link this kind of, because I don't know, maybe when we were younger, it was just maybe because we were younger and we weren't as like observant of what's happening around us. But like for me, it looks like in the last couple of years, like everyone's just become overly sensitive and like overly reactionary and stuff like that. Would you say there's been any kind of changes or any kind of course to this kind of over? I don't even know how to even coin the term. Like,
well, I think one thing that's funny and interesting to realize is that, and it's funny because I'm also a football coach, and I've been coaching kids for like 6-7 years, and I was very shocked over a few years of coaching kids that like kids are just grown adults, just in the kid form. Like, so just because he's done 21, it doesn't make you an adult. Just because he's done 18, it don't make you an adult. There are still grown-ass men in mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s who are not necessarily in check with their ego and their emotions. So the thing you said about, oh, maybe just because when we were kids, okay, like, no, that same thing happens to grown-ass men. And I say men because it's a bit more easier to resonate with a man than a woman. But like, and the same thing happens with women. But with men, that same thing happens with like you, something happening, you not being in check with your emotions or your ego. So I don't think it was a thing that because we were kids. It was just a little bit easier when you were kids. But it still happens to grown men to this day who still haven't sorted out things in their life, still have a bit of insecurities, as we all do, but some that are still just affecting their lives, and it's not something that just ignoring. And then on top of that, you had the COVID year where people were locked away for so long and they were bored and wanted something to attract them to react to. That's also a big factor. COVID did that for people who maybe wasn't, and not to their own fault, wasn't necessarily in the right sort of space to be locked down in. Maybe, they're not, let's say, get on with their family, they have people over them, and sometimes
poking at
right, and sometimes an escape is your phone, and then sometimes when you just want to react, you want to explode, you can do that easily on social media by reacting to something you've seen that you might not necessarily like, but you're over exploding just because it's something to do to get off your chest. And there was a bunch of that during 2020, 2021. So I guess that's a huge factor over the last couple of years.
Definitely. Another one that I would say, I think the rise of social media and just kind of people placing importance on other people's views on them, because if you think about it, you're posting up a picture and you're caring about how many people are gonna like it and all this kind of stuff, whereas exactly whereas in times before, like, it's really, if anything, even if you were to care about people outside your direct friendship group or family, whatever, it would be within your community, so whether in your area or your school, that's basically it. But now you're caring about someone else's views that might not even know you, probably not even met each other before, but you care whether that person likes your comment, or likes your post or whatever, or that person is, commenting on something that you said, whether it's positive or negative, kind of thing. So I feel like that also kind of plays a factor in, like, going back to the point where you're saying, like, where we kind of over, care about other people's views on us, where they actually have no importance, or they're not even stakeholders in our lives or anything like that.
I feel like it's that little thing of wondering how many likes they're gonna like a picture. That's a huge thing that still goes on today. And I'll be honest with myself, it still goes on a little bit, not like to the big extent of like I need all the likes, but it's still very much an extent. If one picture is 20 likes less than the average likes that I have, it's still a thing. What's good? It's still a thing. And for someone, subconsciously, it's still a thing. And for anyone to be like, nah, you're lying, it is a definite thing. Even when people think about the time they post, that's still a thing. It's true. People think about the time they post. These are all still little things. These are all still little things. But like when you unpack it and put a microscope over it, it's like, why are you caring what time you should post or what time everyone's gonna see the picture?
It's true.
Why you like it is definitely a thing, and it's something I've noticed a lot when I was like mid-teens, and over the years cared less and less about it. But it's still a little thing. It's still a little thing there. But now I remember when I was younger, because I got Instagram a bit late. Like it was out maybe 3-4 years before I really made an account. No, way more years than that. Like it was big for like 3-4 years before I really made an account. But I remember when I was young and I post pictures on it, the pictures supposed to be like the coolest pictures of like, they're supposed to be like the sickest things ever. Like every picture was supposed to be banging. And then I got to like 19, 20, where I was like, I started like getting into coaching and whatnot. And I started realizing, it's just your like, it's your introduction to yourself. It's just your page, your canvas to do whatever you want on it. So now if you see my pictures, it's just like, they're not conventional. Like cool pictures, look at me. Some of them are just a compilation of random things over the past few weeks. Some of them might be coaching stuff, some might be something else. So some might just be a picture of the sun. Like, but that's just what I feel like I wanted to post, and that was it. So that's something I've realized. And yeah, it's like that. It's like that. It's still something that everyone's got to work on.
No, for sure. No, I agree. I think social media has. I don't know if you know about. Do you know about Gary Vee?
Yes, I got into him many years ago.
Oh,
Many.
so one of the OGs.
I don't watch him stuff anymore, but there was a moment where I was religiously watching this guy talk. Like anywhere he would talk, I would be there.
Yeah.
I was even looking at to go to one of the conferences he was talking at, but then it was like 800 quid for a ticket. I was like, I don't have that money.
Hey.
I heard him say something like, "Oh, he's coming to London." I was like 18 or something, 17. Something like, "I'm coming to London," blah blah blah, in one of his videos. Then I was like, Google Gary Vee London, and I saw the conference. He's on the panel with other people, and I was like, bro, if I can make it to this, and then I saw the tickets. It was like £600 a ticket. I was like, well, no, I cannot clearly. Clearly, this is not a show for me. For someone in my background, this is not it. But yeah, I know Gary Vee.
Yeah. He was saying how, if anything, social media has just put a magnifying glass on issues that already have been there, pretty much. So, this all these things that we're seeing now of people being reactionary, taking things personally, as the topic we're talking about, it's kind of always been there. But through, like you mentioned, stuff like COVID happening, maybe like you gave an example, personal things happening in people's lives. It's like a funnel now that has manifested itself to let people show this outwardly, like
it's also, and this is the funny thing, because like it's not all bad. Parts of social media that is great, like this connecting here, me coming here, that's through social media. But it's also a release from just things you can't let out in your own life. The crazy thing to me is how people, I don't use Twitter, I never use Twitter, but the crazy thing to me is how people just like tweet and comment negative stuff on people's things. But all that is it's just a release. I am not maybe
what's inside.
Yeah, I'm not maybe comfortable enough or confident enough to really tell these people in my life who are really getting on my fucking nerves, whether it's a mum or a dad or a boss, whoever it is. But social media here on my phone, typing it, no one can stop me, and no one knows, no one can do anything about it. And that's pretty much what it all is for someone. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is for someone to release a negative tweet, like to say, to post a famous person's page, be like, "Oh, you're blah 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 this for doing that. How can you do this?" You're probably just like, this is the only way to release for you. And I feel like I could be dead wrong. It's just something I think about. But even to boil it down even more, probably one of the main reasons why people have put this all, probably one of the main reasons why people put all of this influence and this effort into social media, and the attention that they love from it, like with the pictures and the likes, and the reacting to certain stuff that you see. If a famous person does something and you react to it quick and you start tweeting about how awful that person is and cancel them, that probably all just stems from like very basic stuff of like, you probably just didn't get told you love you enough when you was a kid. Your mom or dad did not hug you enough and tell you like, you are a great kid, I love you, you can do whatever you want.
It's true.
That's probably just the most basic thing.
Probably
that's
what I think in my head, like, which is super important. Like, people need to tell you that. And from certain cultures, you can understand why that doesn't happen. Like, I'm African, I'm Ugandan. Like, my mum and dad came here when they were young, like very young. Like, they have very much of like they still got a bit of a accent to them, but they got very much of a British accent. They were here, they went to school here. But my grandma brought everyone here, brought all her other sisters here. Like, the job of, I know in Africa, but the job of like coming from a place like somewhere in Asia, somewhere in Africa, and bringing a whole group of family, not just yourself, because that's might be hard enough, especially when you're not from money, but to bring in your whole family, your kids, any kids that you have, any siblings that you have, friends close you grew up with that you bring, helping them come over. Once you get to this place, to a place like England, like, in your mind, your job is done. So I can understand why my grandma, after coming to this country and bringing everyone here after maybe a 5-10 year journey, like, I can imagine, I could be cool with her being like, yo,
you guys
I'm done now.
Bro, you guys appreciate what I've done.
Yeah, because that's like for years in her life, that must have been like the most pivotal thing to do. Like, I need to do this. And once it got done, I could understand why she's just like, I'm good now. Like, you lot need to do what you need to do. And in that sense, something on her mind just isn't to tell her kids like, oh, I love you and whatnot. But kids need to hear that more. Kids need to hear that more. Like, from especially the people that are closest to them, especially in parent, because it's definitely something that you could just assume isn't the case. Yeah. But kids need to hear that more. Young kids need to hear that more. That's pretty much all they want to hear. Like, even as a grown up, that's why we do podcasts. Like, you want to hear someone, you want to talk, you want to hear someone listen to you, you want to conversate with people, you want to know that you're being heard. Now you multiply that by a million when it's a kid. All kids want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be appreciated. They want to be, given attention, know that they're actually an actualizing person, and that needs to come from parents the most. But then you don't do that when a kid, and then they go to teenager where they're in school with other teenagers, and they think, maybe I get it from my other friends from school, or sometimes the friends they're with from school. That's probably why a lot of boys from my urban areas, go into what they go to. They're like, a lot of us probably didn't have the dad in the house. I didn't have my dad in the house. Your mum did the best she could, but maybe she wasn't always telling you like how much she's proud of you and all of that. But you grew up in a boys' school, the way we grew up in a boys' school, and you think, this is where I'm gonna get that. Subconsciously, you think this is where I'm gonna get that love, that attention, that appreciation. And then that's why you go and ride out with my man, because if you ride out, everyone's gonna be like, yo, you're the guy. Yeah.
You're really dissecting it right now, mate.
So I think that's what all it boils down to. Like, people just getting told enough that,
This guy said he's not a therapist.
Yo, I thought to myself one time, I can't bother to go get a degree, but somebody pay me, I'll help you out. Somebody pay me.
I'm sure there's some kind of certification.
Yeah, probably there is like a quick course you can just do. I say I'll do it.
Tell you, that's why that woman was was down to confiding you, man.
I hadn't even said anything to her though. I said to her,
she felt your energy, man.
Nah, man. My energy's not that deep. That was hilarious.
So I know we covered like a few things, but what do you say is the main? Okay, let's not even just whittle it down to just one thing, but just go over it maybe one more time. The main things that people need to kind of get in order to not be a part of this generation of taking things too personally, being too sensitive and so forth.
Well, first and foremost, if you're in your 20s and above, I feel like your first and foremost job, whatever you're doing, needs to be yourself. It needs to be understanding yourself first and foremost. Like, I went for a weird period where I was in my last couple of years of school. Like the way I started seeing people changed up a little bit. Like when I was in like year 10, year 11. And certain things people were doing, just like I wasn't on it. Like, I realized a lot of people just like followed each other. There was like 3, 4 maybe like the coolest cats in the school who did their own thing, and then everybody else in the year followed them 3 or 4 people. And when I realized how much people started following each other, like I was really like, I'm not about this. So I really isolated myself. And they say tourists do that. I really isolated myself from people in school, and then I was going to college, and I was like, it's going to be so different. I'm going to be around so many different people, and it's going to be different. It's going to be sick. And I put that up in my head. Then I went to college, and I was with the exact same people, just different faces, different names, different areas, but the exact same people who were just following each other and trying to do what's cool. And then college not being.
Sure, I understand.
You're listening. You heard.
And then college being like not being like sixth form, where you only in 2-3 days a week. And in them days you're not in the whole day. You have so much time to go home. I went from isolating myself with the people I was in school with to then going to college and isolating myself even more because I'm not in school every day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I have way more time. So all that time I isolated myself, and I grew up an only child. Didn't have siblings. Me and my mum for like for like my whole teenage, like from like 9, 10 to about 20, to about 21. Me and mum in the crib. So all that time, my mum's working 9 to 5. She doesn't know I'm like not going into college. But I had so much time for about a good 4, 5, 6 months where I was just on my own. And all that time, and of course, at first it's hard, just like, because I'm surrounded by school kids all the time. You don't really notice it. You don't get that time for yourself. But at first moment, it was hard. I was like, I was bare like, what's going on? Like, why am I? It was almost scary to be alone in yourself, because all you have left is to think about your own thoughts and be aware of your own thoughts and everything you're feeling and thinking, and all of that comes to the forefront. It was almost like unintentional meditating. And then it took me about a good 3-4 months then to realize, then to be comfortable with it. Then I got comfortable with it. I got comfortable being on my own and realizing that it's actually not a bad thing that you're on your own. Like, it's not, it doesn't mean no one likes you, no one wants to be with you. Doesn't mean you're weird if you are someone who likes your own company. You should actually fight to be in your own company. So even one of the things that people should do with understand yourself, that's one of the things. And first and foremost, be alone for a second. I understand people who have never been alone. From like late teenagers, they've been in relationships, they've got bare siblings, they've been in certain thing over and over, and they're like 29, 30 now, and they've never spent a period on their own. So that's one of the main things for grown people in their 20s. Like, understand yourself. Understand the things that make you tick, the things that piss you off, the things that provoke thought in you, the things that get you actually excited for life, get you out of bed. Understand them sort of things that actually get you going in the morning. That's first and foremost. And once you understand that, then you can weed out all the little things that are unnecessary in your life that you don't need to keep. And then when that situation come up where someone brings that up or something like that happens, it doesn't affect you as much, because you're like, that's something I disregarded a while ago because it was unnecessary for me to hold that in. But that's the first and foremost, is like, everything needs to start with yourself. Like, before you get jobs, even if you want to get a job, your first question's got to be, what do I want to do? Not what is going to make me money, not what is my parents going to be happy about, not what's everyone else doing, what's respectable, what do I want to do, what's actually going to make me happy. And I went through a long period of that as well. I was working at Sainsbury's in 2018 in a Sainsbury's local store, and I did it. Well, I didn't do it. I did it because I wanted some peas, and the first few months was good because like it was something new, something fresh. I was working with bare fun people, and then as that year went on towards that September, October, it was just draining, and I was wake up and I'll be dreading going into work, and the people I was working with now were just annoying, and the manager had a short complex, and he had a short man complex, and it was all just like it was draining. That stuff is draining your energy. Like, I couldn't. The thought of getting up to it, that made me sick, made me anxious.
Serious.
And I got to a point in December. I had worked Christmas Eve. For some reason, all the like big dates fell on my shifts. I worked Christmas Eve, and I was only doing this 2 days a week. That was it, 2 days a week, and I was making good money for 2 days a week. I was working part time because I was at uni. But even so, them 2 days a week was just like
still just.
So I remember it's a Christmas Eve, a lot of people know the feeling. A lot of people know the feeling, because everyone's first thought is, and again, this is not if you're told when you're by parents, by people older. If you're not told, like, actually make an intentional decision to find what actually drives you. A lot of people aren't told that. You're told like when you're gonna get a job and make some money.
That's it.
Being a young black boy from London, from a single mum household, when you're thinking when you're gonna make some money to help out your mum in a crib. So first thought is to find out whatever you can do to make money. Retail comes to mind. So yeah, all my shifts were just coming on the biggest days. Christmas Eve I worked, and then it was in between Christmas Eve and I was working New Year's Day. New Year's Day I think. And I was just like,
can't do this.
I can't do this. And I woke up and I didn't go in.
So,
Woke up, I didn't go in. Manager was calling me about 3 p.m, messaged me, didn't go in. And the relief that came over my body, like the physical relief that came over my body when I realized I'm never going to that place again, ridiculous. And I would have, like, it was ridiculous. And I said to myself, I'm never going to get into another job again just because I need the money. And this was coming into 2019. This was coming 2019, January, Christmas, New Year's Day. And believe me, for the first 6 months of 2019, didn't have a job, broke my ass. But the next job I had was actually what I wanted to do, was coaching.
Yeah.
And then I had like 3-4 different coaching jobs after that. And it was still hard and it was long and it was slow. but I kept it going, and then finished uni. Then I got into PT and was something else I wanted to do, and now the jobs that I do are the jobs that I actually love and actually want to do. And when it gets hard, it's easier to get up and go do it because it's actually something that you love. Whereas it's something that you want to make money. I have so many friends I've spoken with and they tell me that this job is just long, so draining. Well, because it's not something you want to do. So when it's them days where it's like, I really can't bother to go do, it's so much harder. My day of getting up in that 6 a.m. to be at the gym to go PT, as opposed to someone else's day who gets up at 6 a.m. to go in a retail job they don't want to do. Our feelings of hard is totally
It's not
different.
just retail.
No, yeah, that's retail. There's a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, if you're doing an office job, there's a PT who's like, he's been doing this for about 6-7 years. Sick PT, he competes, CrossFit and whatnot. But he used to do an office job like when he was younger. So whatever job it is, like my version of this is a long day compared to someone else's version who hates their job if it's a long day, totally different.
Yeah.
My long days are still very manageable because I love the people I'm with, I love the job I'm doing. Whereas someone else's, I just say retail because that's just my example because of what I was doing. But their long day is like you step in and you do place and you're just like, and then you just got this negative, you got this like black bag of rubbish weighing you down as you're walking around the place.
It even affects your interactions with other people as well.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of times, like when I'll go into a store or something, I can just tell that this person doesn't want to be here. So even when they're serving you or something,
That's what I'm saying.
it's just like
Yeah.
demeanor is just down and
Yeah,
stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying.
So that's like the first thing. Everything, any question you want to ask yourself in life, what job you want to do, who people you want around you, to what clothes you want to buy, what parties you want to go to. You have to first ask yourself, what do I want?
Know yourself.
Yeah, know yourself, simple as that. And a lot of people don't, which is a shame.
A big shame.
So that's one of the first things to circle back to your question about how we can get to this place where unnecessary stuff doesn't affect us. To know yourself. Know yourself.
I
know
guess
your
if you don't
securities.
do that's like after that everything else follows.
Yeah. Oh, when I started to understand myself, everything else became so much easier. It became so much easier to look at guys that I went to school with and be like, I don't want to chat with you. I don't want to be around you. It became so much easier because you're not going anywhere I want to go.
Yeah.
Like that decision was so easy for me. To see and to get a little bit older and to see people who, because the people I am right now, the people I'm surrounded by right now from work, from friends, from people I chill with, they're like a bit older than me. So this was even something new recently I went over in the past, like maybe 8 months, was to see the people I work with, see people I chill with. Like in my workplace, in my gym, I'm the youngest by like maybe 3 years. And the oldest is like almost 20 years older than me. But everyone's still very cool, very like interactive. But that was something to go through, to be with all these other people who are way more established in their life. Because I've only been full-time working for like a year now. Who people are way more established in their life, got things way more sorted out. And me initially thinking like, oh damn, I ain't got this pattern the way they do. Then realizing I'm like 8 years younger than this person. Like when I have a good start. Where they're at, when I'm at their age, it's just gonna be pattern. So that's it. Just knowing, of recognizing where you are. You're in your own race. What's that WizKid? Because going back to I love WizKid, them now if you run my race, like them now if you run my race, like they don't run your race, like you're running your own race. Yeah, you got to realize something about yourself.
Well, that's a big one, you know. That's a big one because again, like everything else just follows from there. Like if you know yourself, you know what you like, you know what you're into, you know what your goals are. You're not really gonna care what the next person is saying. Like, why would I care what somebody else has, what opinion they have about what I'm wearing if I know that this is what I wear and this is what I like, kind of thing. So again, you're not gonna really have that reactionary behavior. Obviously, there's got to be times where someone might step on your toes and you might get a little bit infuriated. But again, if you just come back to the point of like, listen, this person doesn't owe me anything. I don't owe them anything. They're not valuable to me or anything like that. It's not really gonna affect you.
And weigh the pros and cons again, like your situation. Weigh the pros and cons. What are you gaining from reacting to this person who doesn't influence your life whatsoever? What are you gaining? If you're not gaining anything really worthwhile, leave it, let it go.
Yeah.
And then letting like the power of letting shit go. Oh my word! I had to like there's a couple of things I had to let go from, like just again knowing yourself, like understanding personal stuff that happened, like not that happened, but like how I grew up with my mum, with my dad, certain things that how went down the way they went down, and then being super just when something you're just letting something carry you, and you're letting it take it, and you're letting a thought hold you, and then realizing understanding how to let it go. Certain things with my certain things with my dad is like he wasn't always there, and I would see him a lot when I was younger, and then over a period where I would never see him, and then being when you're a young person, like when you play football and you see all the other dads pick up the other kids and whatnot, little things like that, and you're like, bro, why didn't you like try a bit, like, and then realizing that there's a couple guys that were like my best friends in school. I never met their dads. I never heard them say a word about their dads. When the conversation came about parents, they were quiet because some of them don't even know who their dads are. And I realized for myself, like, oh, my dad, I actually know who my dad is. Like, I very much know my dad's side of the family. Cool with all of them. If I really wanted to pick up the phone and call my dad or text, I can do that. Realizing that situation, now I'm like, well, what are you getting aggy about? Like, you know your dad. Like, you have access to your dad. Letting all of that go. My mom had me when she was super young. She was like 16 going to 17. So certain things happened there the way I was raised, being mad aggy about it, and realizing, bro, your mom was 60 when she had you.
Yeah.
When she was 20, you was 4 years old.
It's mad.
Like, I think myself at 20.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I'm saying. When she was 20, you were 4 years old. When she was my age, I was still like 7. To go through that life and then to having a kid, like, I'm like, oh, you know what? Let that go, bro. Like, she like was trying to understand herself, let alone raise another person, another human being. And when you do that stuff, like, oh, the release you just get. You got to understand, letting something go isn't forgiving someone. Yeah. Even forgiveness itself, but letting something go isn't like, you're not like saying. You're just not allowing it to. Like, yeah, exactly. That's all it is. You're just releasing that burden from yourself to worry about it, but you're not actually like. My dad still should have been there, but I'm not like saying. You're not saying, oh, don't worry about that, bro. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't need to worry about that now. That doesn't need to harp on that. I don't need to harp on that anymore. Yeah. And that's all letting go does. It helps you out more than it helps the other person. So that's a important thing. I don't know how we got into that.
Dropped so many gems today.
Therapist, man. I called it.
Bro.
I should have segment my podcast.
Therapist Cassie. There we go.
It's going to be hard to pick a promo clip, man.
Therapist Cassie, where like someone calls in and they tell me about
too many gems, man. Too many gems to do.
I did this to some people around the table. I don't have time. I did it to some people around the table. I said, everyone, there was like 4 of us. I said, everyone take like a minute or 2 minutes to say a problem in your life, like a problem in your life that you're thinking about, and if you want to share it, and then like another few minutes for everyone around the table to give their advice and their support. And that was super interesting because like everybody had their own moment to actually talk with people listening and people to give them the ear and knowing that you're being heard, and then you had advice on people that you care about.
That's interesting. Wait. I have to introduce that one into the thing.
But bro, thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it,
man.
Like, it's a joy, a pleasure. Like you said, one of the benefits of social media, just in general, to link up and to connect with like-minded people. It's amazing, man. There's a lot of value that comes out of it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Me, I love learning as well. Like, so when someone is coming to speak, and I feel like you can learn from anyone. Kind of thing. So, like, I appreciate these kind of conversations as well when you're hearing like someone else's views or opinions on stuff, kind of thing. So I'm happy to take a seat back and just listen and learn, kind of thing. But yeah, man, once again, we appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, this is not the first and this is not the last time.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Do you want to? The links are going to be in the description anyway.
Yeah.
But you want to?
Drop the podcast. So yeah, the Cassie podcast. My last name's Cassie. The Cassie podcast, KASI. You can find that everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, all the socials, YouTube, everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all of that. You can find all that information there. The Cassie podcast. Google that, you'll find me.
Yeah. And Google it. But don't worry, we'll make it easy for you. We'll just
We'll
put it in the
there
link
as well.
in the description.
You need to just click the
Much
link.
appreciated. We're in a bit of a break now. We have been for a while, just life getting in the way. But it's alright. There's about 20 something episodes there you can catch up on. By the time you've caught up, we'll be there for the new one.
Jeez.
Love that.
We're looking forward to it, man.
So, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you
Hey.
again for listening. More guests to come. More guests
to
like
come.
this.
A lot of things
It
to
just
come.
gets better and better,
Honestly.
you know, as they say. But yeah, thanks, guys. Unscripted as podcast.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Big love.